Hiya, this is my second video on colour and I'm in Premiere now. I'm going to do some colour grading, but first I just want to go over how it is that you know what it is that you're doing when you're colour grading in Premiere or in any application. It doesn't need to be Premiere. Anything that has got scopes, which is like all video editing, and curves. So, you know, HitFilm, Sony Vegas, Final Cut, Avid, Lightworks, anything you like. This is just basics, which are scopes, understanding scopes. So I've made like a little project here. I'm going to bring up scopes. This is the colour workspace in Premiere. If you don't have that, or say if you've got like Premiere CS6, then just go into here and get a reference monitor up, and then in the reference monitor click the spanner and your scopes will be in there. There are all kinds of different scopes, and the ones that you're mainly going to use are vector scope, HLS, RGB parade, which is brilliant, and waveform. This is the waveform. This is just like your basic thing. It's showing you, it's mapping the colour space. Now this clip is black, so it doesn't have any luminance, so it's just a line. It's just a line. If you have white, there's a line. It's 100, so it's 0 to 100. So top to bottom, it's luminance, which is just like the colour space that I showed you in Photoshop and the colour space I showed you in After Effects. But on this thing, left to right is actually the pixels mapped. There aren't any pixels really to show you, but keep that in mind for later. So I've made this. You can see this moving around. So it's black, it's white. If we bring up another scope, RGB parade, see all the channels, red, green and blue, are all at 100, which makes white. If we go to this next one, which is just full red, on the left hand side, which is the waveform, the green and the blue are lying completely on top of each other, which makes cyan. Remember, cyan, it's between green and blue, and then red's at the top. So if we went forward to blue, this is going to jump up here and this is going to jump down here, and think what colour that's going to go. Look at what's between red and green. There we go. Yellow there, blue there. So that's pretty basic. Yeah, and there's green as well. I made a green so you could see bob, bob, bob. That's pretty basic. That's what we looked at before. If you had a gradient that was going left to right, what would you expect to see? Would you expect to see it starting at 0 and it moving across the screen up to 1? Well, you'd be dead right about that. You'd be dead right. Look at that. There's another scope though that's going to be super useful when you're doing colour grading. You don't need to worry about a lot of the stuff that if you try and read about colour correcting, you'll get a lot of stuff about people correcting raw footage for broadcast, which is not what you're doing. You're using broadcast footage already, so a lot of that stuff is not relevant, but the scopes are always relevant. So let's bring up our next greatest thing, which is our HLS vector scope, which at the moment has basically no information, it's just a dot. And now let's go to colour bars. And colour bars here, they've helpfully set, look, here's all the colours. Here's red, magenta, green, cyan, yellow, there's blue on the end. This is super white, super black, broadcast black. And look, see these, I don't know if you can see them, but see these little, actually, you know what, just for a minute, I'll bring up YUV, because it's got them named, right? And each white dot here is this value. So this is showing the red, right? Showing it on the RGB parade, it's showing it on the waveform, and it's showing it in here. If we go over, you can see them pop up, right? I made some little different ones so you could see. There's a red gradient, which here is just a dot because it's pure red. And then on this other one, you'll get a line. There's no point going into why that is. It's not relevant to this. Here we go. There's some interesting shapes, right? And then where's our colour wheel? There's our colour wheel. There's a colour wheel that we made, and there's it showing up on the vector scope, and see how it just completely matches it, it mirrors it. Here it is in the RGB parade, and there it is in the vector scope. Now I'm going to turn this one off because mostly that is not useful. It's not really very useful for what we're wanting to do, which is we're wanting to look at a real show. So let's do that. Let's make a new timeline. Let's bring up, right, episode 1, season 1, Game of Thrones. Now, I've marked a few places on here because the things get about Game of Thrones, the thing to really understand is it's very, very beautifully and amazingly tightly colour graded to give a sense of place. So the wall is blue, it's here, and King's Landing is red, well it's sort of peach, here. Oh, and Winterfell is central, so it's sort of neutral. Everything in the world is a deviation from Winterfell, either bluer or redder. And as the show goes on, and as winter comes, you know, as it slowly marches out, the places get bluer and bluer as they come, as winter sort of comes down the country. Winterfell in season 6 is bluer than the wall in season 1, which is amazing, right? It's very beautifully done, but it can cause some difficulties with vidding, because when you're vidding, you're trying to often integrate scenes from different episodes together, and so then if you're trying to bring in stuff from Winterfell in season 1 and blend it with stuff in Winterfell in season 6, you're going to have to do some kind of colour correction, or else it's going to jar, right? And what if you're wanting to bring in stuff from, what if you want to put Jon Snow in King's Landing? Well, I know he has actually now been to King's Landing, but previously he had not. There's no colour grade footage of Jon Snow that actually would even remotely go in King's Landing. And let me show you what I mean by that. Here's some footage of the wall, which I know this looks white, but it is actually blue, just trust me on this. Let's have a look in our scopes. Here it is. It's all down here. This is the north. Blue is predominant, and blue is all up in these bright light. This is top to bottom is luminance, and then left to right is the actual pixel map. So if we play it, you'll see this guy come through on his horse. You'll see that change. Can you see him? There's his horse. Right. So that's beyond the wall. I don't know if you can hear my fan, but I just can't do anything about that. Right, so Winterfell. Let's see it in scopes. Right. This looks white because in most places it's balanced, which means the red, green and blue are all like on top of each other, so they go white, and this is just kind of scattered all around. That's what I mean by balanced and neutral. When you put like a grade on, it's gonna, these jump apart quite significantly because it's being pushed artificially to a one position, either up here or down here. Obviously it can be pushed in other places, but in Game of Thrones, those are the positions. Neutral, graded. Red is predominant. Red is in all the lights, and there's quite a strong separation, and everything's over here, sort of on the skin tone line. Skin tone line is this line here. Which is just a sort of red hue that comes from blood, so it lights people's skin. It's not, I don't mean like your skin colour. I just mean the skin tone line on the vector scope. So how can you use this information? Well, what would we want to do? What did I say? If you wanted to put Jon Snow, it's Jon Snow. Jon Snow, looking very sad. Here we go. Jon Snow's big head, big sad head. Rickon. Oh, Rickon. Right. And what did I say? King's Landing. Why would anybody want to put Jon Snow's big head on King's Landing? I don't know, but we're doing it. We're doing it anyway. Because it'll show you how to look at scopes. Right. If I just quickly mask that off. Right, you can see the vast and drastic difference between the two. So how do we match those two things? Well, if we come up in scopes, now we've got them both on the timeline, it should show us them both together. Right. Jon Snow with King's Landing. So what we want to do is we want to move this line up here, down here, up here. Or we could do it the other way around, but let's do it this way around. How do we do that? Well, there are a couple of ways we could do that. We could bring up colour wheels. You won't have, if you don't have CC, if you've got CS6 or something like that, you won't have colour wheels. But you will have, if you go into effects, it's in my obsolete, but it won't be in yours. Right, here are all the colour correctors here. Yeah, RGB colour corrector. Fast colour corrector, 3-way colour corrector. Right, that's where they are. But we're going to use... So what would you do? Let's move the mid-tone, leave the shadows alone. Move the mid-tones up. And see them move. Bring it over. To match-ish. Highlights, same thing, same deal, maybe a little bit less. Crazy. Oh, bring it back. I'm just looking always at this vector scope to match them. I'm not looking at the moment at the image, I'm looking at the vector scope. And that's because, you know, your monitor lies to you for a start. Your eyes lie to you. I mean, it depends how much your eyes lie to you, right? Because it depends how great your colour vision is. I got pretty good colour vision. I normally score like a 0 on a hue test. But even so, it's better to look at the scope. Now, this curve is troubling me, so I guess that's my shadows, right? But I don't wanna mess with the shadows too much here. The thing is, I don't want to mess with the shadows too much just because this is a building and that's a face. So obviously they're going to have some differences. Right, I've got this, it's nearly matched, but I've still got this area here that's slightly... So what I want to do is I just want to turn the dial towards here. So where is this? I'm here. I want to turn it towards green. So I'm just going to take green in curves at the bottom and bring it up a little bit, just a little tiny bit, just to turn that dial and match that. And now we've got a really close match between Jon Snow's giant head. You know, for whatever reason that we might want to do that. I don't really know why we'd want to do that. And King's Landing. And we can see that they're matched because they're right over each other on the scopes. So that's how you can do that in anything. Other ways that you could do that in Premiere is, let's just reset this. I would probably not have that, to be honest, as a finished correction, even though it is accurate. I would probably still go in and just do that. Now you would never ever, if I was like at work, I would never clip the blacks like that. But I'm not. I think it looks better. I like it. Right, so let's just reset that. Whoa, look how blue it was. And just show you something that you can do in Premiere, which is colour wheels and match. Right, so get up your comparison view, scroll the left hand side, which is your reference view, to the frame you want to match to. Make sure that the clip that you want to change is selected, and just click apply match. Right, and you can see it's pretty much the same. They've actually still got that bend up there, so you can just do it automatically in Premiere, but you don't need to. You can do it yourself. I just had to stop a minute there because my fan was going crazy. But that's it, everything anyway. I don't think there's anything more to say really. That's colour correcting in Premiere. That's all you need to know. Alright, bye.